Hello, and welcome to another episode of In the Studio with Daniel. Today I'm here with Heather Barone. She is a Reiki Master teacher, a licensed massage therapist, and an energy worker. Hello, Heather.
Hello, Dan.
Today we're going to be talking about how Reiki is used in modern medicine and particularly mainstream hospitals, uh, especially when concerning cancer treatment. And really the I want to use the word scientific, proven effects that Reiki has had for cancer patients and cancer treatment, as well as healing in general. So Heather, we'll first start out with if you can let us know a little bit about Reiki and how it works.
All right. Reiki is a Japanese form of healing, hands-on healing, that works through the chakra system, and it works on the whole body. It cleanses mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional. Works just by flooding the body with good, clean energy and allowing all the impurities to flush out. Kind of like if you have 2 cups of water, you have a dirty cup and a clean cup. If you flood the clean water into that dirty water, the water will become clear. And that's exactly how Reiki works.
Right. And we've heard the expression several times, anybody who does energy work and has got at least Reiki level 1, that Reiki can do no harm. You can't overdose on the energy. And what is your feelings on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I've worked with all kinds of patients in all kinds of situations. There are no contraindications. Unlike any other forms that are out there, even as a massage therapist, there are a lot of situations that we cannot do it.
Right.
With Reiki, it doesn't matter. It will never do any harm to the person. It will only do good.
Right. Yeah, it's incredible stuff. And in my experience with it, I've done a lot of research on any of the topics that we talk about here. I either already know about them, which is why I'm bringing in people to talk about them, or I research them. And one of the things I learned early on about Reiki, it's one of the few energy healing modalities that have actually been documented by science. They actually been able to film the energy with special, I forget the name of the instrument, but these special scopes, and it could actually visualize the energy coming out of the palms, and it's pretty impressive stuff. I like that. So what kind of started your journey to Reiki? What brought you to it?
I had heard about Reiki back, I'd say, my very early 20s. It's almost 20 years ago. And at that time, it wasn't very local. You had to go out in PA or so. It was very expensive. So at that time, of course, I had the interest, researched it, and it wasn't until the early 2000s when I had my first son that I said, okay, I need to do this. He had severe reflux, and they scheduled him for an upper GI, which meant he had to be sedated. And I was so nervous. And the night before, I canceled the procedure, and I went and signed up for my Reiki 1 class and also scheduled an appointment for him with a Reiki Master. And I knew that for his well-being, I had to take this path, and then it just grew from there. It was kind of my passageway.
So it was truly a calling for
Yes,
you, as
absolutely.
it is for many people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go and you said you went for Reiki 1,
Mm-hmm.
can you give us an overview of how you become a Reiki practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
and what's involved? I know there are several steps and stages.
Yes, there are 3 levels to Reiki. Your Reiki level 1 class is approximately 7 hours. It's a full day class. You receive an attunement, and at that point, you learn a lot about our history, where we came from, why we do what we do, and you're able to work on yourself, friends, family, and pets. For level 2, again, about a 7-hour, 1-day class. And at that point, you receive another attunement, and you are now able to work on clients. You're also able to do distance. You get symbols, which is just awesome. And then lastly, after you've practiced for at least 6 months, you can go on to do Reiki Master. And everyone does the Reiki Master program to whatever their calling is. For me, I do it for 16 hours over 8 weeks. So you can really digest the information and take it in.
Yes.
And at that point, you are now able to work at the master frequency and also train students and continue the lineage.
Yes. And I know that there are people out there who would we'll say, to be polite, their requirements for Reiki. I know there's a lot of Reiki 1 and 2, one weekend consolidated classes out there. But it's important, as Dr. Usui taught us, to process that 21-day cleanse.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Absolutely. And I think whatever works for you is wonderful. For my path and my students, I take it so seriously, and for me, I need them to process that 21 days before taking on more information and going further.
And I do agree. There's no limiting the energy, certainly, and everybody has their own way of doing things. And I'm in no way making any stance that one way is wrong or right or otherwise. But when you're trying to really stick to tradition, I also feel and resonate with Heather that it's a process. It's a journey. It's not a race. It's a journey, and I think it's you benefit more, in my personal opinion, if you do the journey and not the race.
Yes.
Which I guess brings us to the point of attunements. What would I expect? I come and I do the class. Can you tell us about the attunement process?
Sure. And that's a really important part of each of the classes. That's a bonding time between you and your master. It's a portion of the class that actually we are connecting with you and raising your frequency to a new, little bit higher operating frequency. And that will become your norm. It is ceremonious, just like anything else in Japanese culture. It is a bonding time. It's a beautiful moment that you share with your master to bring you into that Reiki 1, Reiki 2, or Reiki Master.
And it is very intimate and sacred, and that's one of the things that I like, being a raised Catholic and getting involved in. I'm starting as I go through my journey, not like some of the terminology we use. Being involved early on in my life with a lot of the paranormal activities and research and things, I've become a sucker for ceremony and proper, order to things. So that's where the Reiki attunement really resonate with me.
Yeah. And it's important to make sure when you choose your master teacher that you meet with them first or speak with them over the phone, and make sure you have that comfort level and that trust for that bond of that path.
Right. That they resonate with you personally.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, I will share, Heather is my Reiki master. She's one who mastered me, and it is a special bond. Yeah. Again, not limiting the energy. I will not ask Heather to give her opinion on this, but I will give my personal opinion on that. I do strongly feel that it is a very intimate, special bond that really needs to be experienced firsthand. Again, just like a distant healing, there's no saying a distant attunement would not work, but there's definitely something to be said about the sacredness of having that intimate ceremony. And attunement via DVD, I'm not sure about all that. I'll be the one to be politically incorrect and make that statement, so forgive me anybody I offended with that. But when you're talking about traditional Usui Reiki, the tradition is the biggest key to that. So, moving on. I come to you, and I'm feeling off, whatever physical pain, emotional pain, whatever I'm going through. Reiki definitely seems to be a cure-all, or at least, not that it's a cure-all, but it gives you the energy you need to fix what you have. So I make the appointment, I show up. What would I expect if I've never had Reiki before and I'm coming in for the first time? What should we expect?
Definitely expect to, of course, be greeted by your practitioner. Taken to an area, usually a massage table is used. You stay fully clothed. There normally, and I can speak, for myself and my students, we don't really, besides introductions, we don't get too into things immediately, because we do not want to have any personal opinion or anything of where the energy needs to go. I always tell people it's a red flag if you go to a Reiki and you say you have a headache and they say, I can fix that. That's not our job. Not our job. That's one thing I will take a stand against. It drives me nuts. But we will have you lay down. And the only thing I say to my people is just relax. If you want to go to sleep, go to sleep. At times you'll feel my hands on you. At times you'll feel my hands raised above you. And if there's anything uncomfortable, let me know. Other than that, there's nothing else that we really need to discuss till after.
And one little interesting point there, it is laying of hands healing, which dates back centuries and centuries, long before Usui ever put it into an organizable, teachable system. But even when the hands are not on you, oftentimes it will feel like they are on you. I can't tell how many people said to me, "Are you touching me right now?" And they open their eyes and I'm 8-9 inches above them, and they're like, "That's really weird."
Yep.
But it's an awesome thing. Don't let that scare you at all. It's an incredible thing. That's how you know. For people who need tangible proof in life, like myself, who's a skeptical believer, I believe in everything, but I don't believe that everything is what they say it is. It's tangible proof for people who need it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So we're on the table. You've begun your process. Is there anything? Are we feeling anything?
I always tell people every session is totally different. You can see that same Reiki for 15 sessions, and every one of those can be totally different. Sometimes people will feel heat, sometimes they'll feel tingling, sometimes they'll feel cold, but there are plenty of people who feel nothing. I have many clients who may have a week that they are feeling everything. And the next week they go, "I don't know, I didn't feel anything." And I'm like, "Don't worry. Your body did with it what needed to be done." So I never like them to expect anything because, like I said, from that same person can have different experiences. The important thing is, though, is that we are flushing toxins. So the Reiki still runs as strong for 72 hours. So you're with us for 45 minutes to an hour, depending what your body needed that day. And then you still have 72 hours of that energy running right through you at that same height of frequency. So lots of water, get everything flushed out, and kind of, I always tell people, ride the wave, you know.
And the hydration is huge. People don't always understand. Even people who get massages don't always run home and load up on water. It's important because if these toxins are moved out to where your body can sweep them away, you can't mop the floor with a dry mop. You have to have that water for it to work.
That's very true.
And that's hydration is important in general. But after any type of body work, energy or manual, anything, you always have to have lots and lots of water. So we've gotten the Reiki, and I know I can personally say I've gotten Reiki from you a couple times, and also my wife and working with some of my students. I've had bouts of heat and tingles. I was doing a distance healing on a friend of mine recently who's never had Reiki at all, and it was an impromptu thing. And I said to him, because he's very prone to panic, and I said to him, just lay in your bed. You may feel heat, you may feel tingles, but just rest assured you're safe and protected. He started feeling heat and tingles. He didn't know what to make of it. But everyone is different, and that can vary very much. So we've gotten down through the session, and we're relaxed, and now we're sitting up, and we're closing out. Is there any more to the process?
Every Reiki is different. For myself, I do then sit and go into a full conversation of how did you feel, and if there was anything I picked up, I tend to take notes throughout the session, and if there's anything that has to be discussed at that point, that tends to be sometimes almost as long as the Reiki session. Right. So you and it's one thing that's very important is Reiki can bring up a lot of things. You can be on the table and start to cry, and that's okay. You're supposed to process whatever's coming through, but know that when you're in with your Reiki, that's confidential time. Nothing leaves that room. That's a very personal space that you're in, and it's working on all levels. So emotional things come up through physical. So just know that it's confidential and feel safe in that environment.
I'm chuckling about my ding. Me and my wife are huge in the synchronicities, and it's come up. I've preached to you guys about it several times in readings and all. And one of the synchronicities that we have learned, or that we have adopted as a synchronicity that they use with us so often, is when we make a statement of resounding truth, they give us a ding. And it's funny because you said that and I got ding. And now it was interesting you said about if you had gotten anything. Can you get a little more into that, just as much as you're willing to share?
Yeah, and I think that the safest way to address it is a lot of times as you go through your levels of Reiki, especially when you hit that master level, your frequency is very high. You're very open. A lot of us who come to energy work tend to have other things, whether we're intuitive or empathetic or medium. There's all different things that tend to be kind of lying back there, whether we're aware of them or not. Whenever you raise someone's frequency and their natural operating frequency, the gifts that you have from birth will come back forward.
Be magnified.
Yeah. So it has nothing to do with Reiki, but you will find the commonality of a lot of us do have a little something else that goes on with us. And for me, it's I get a lot of just intuitive messages. If there's things that the universe wants to bring to their attention, that'll come through to me, and I'm able to bring that up for them to process.
Yeah, and it's I think it's, if you're seeking the Reiki attunement, I know it's been the jump off point for so many people in the energy world.
Yes.
I think it's you're almost making that public statement that you're ready to be awoken and that you're ready to start this path and this journey. And I think that has a lot to do with it too, because we all obviously have the abilities. It's just they lay dormant until we choose to let down our resistance. Which actually, real quickly, before I want to move on to what we're here to talk about, but that brings us back to the attunement. I skipped ahead there a moment. Post attunement, we spoke briefly about that 21-day cleanse. I know for me personally, there were some unresolved issues from my childhood that came up, and I was able to purge, and now have a very good resonance with the people that were affecting me as a child, and pretty amazing stuff. You want to touch on that at all?
Well, I think it's important to remember that the Reiki's working through the chakra system, whereas acupuncture, acupressure is working through the meridians. We're working through the 7 chakras, and it said that we have 3 days of cleanse for each chakra. So there's our 21 days. Our chakras are all attached to physical things and also emotional things.
Got you.
And
That's okay.
And they have a lot of issues with all of that.
It's okay. This is totally organic. Believe me, they've seen me stumble and stammer. It's perfectly fine.
Oh my.
There you go. It's all done.
3 kids. This is what happens.
That's okay.
So it said that, those chakras are all connected to physical things. They're connected to emotional things. They're connected to mental paths of thinking. So you're purging all of them. Those 7 chakras make up everything that you are.
Right.
So there's a lot of very interesting stories over the years of things that go on during that purge.
And again, it's different for everybody. I had nothing with one of my attunements, and then had the father issues come up with a different one. But there's people that have nothing, and there's people that really just purge a whole lifetime of pain, and now they're just better for it. So it varies.
And that's what's the big thing to remember too is really what your Reiki practitioner is. Your Reiki practitioner is just a funnel. In no way are we a healer. That's one word that we try and not use. We are a funnel. Our frequency is raised so that we can funnel the energy through and into your body, and your body is doing the work. Yes. There's no smarter machine out there than your own body to know what you need.
Yep.
So this is why we don't take a lot of information in the beginning and things like that. It's because we don't want to put our personal ego in on that. But
I think you put it best too. It was you got to put oil into your car engine for your car engine to run well. And, the Reiki energy, universal healing energy, is the oil, and the car is the patient, and we're merely the funnel that helps push it into the hole.
Yes,
and
that's it.
I referred it to people as channeling. We're merely channels of the energy. We fall under that category of energy healer, but I say to people all the time, I am not healing you. I am merely the person who is able to channel that energy into you, and your body will use that as fuel. And if you came here because your back hurts and you get Reiki, and a week later your back still hurts. Well, that's because it was something else in your body that needed that energy more. More than likely is then causing the symptom of the back pain. But
I always say Reiki goes to the fire. It puts out the biggest fires
Yep.
first. And then the more often you get it, the deeper it goes.
Yeah.
So consistency is key.
And that's with any modality.
Yes.
Chiropractic care, there has to be maintained. It
Yes.
can't be a once-a-year thing. It can be, certainly, but you're not getting the continued benefits of that.
Right. And that's why the purge happens is we want our funnels to be as clean as they can be. You can think about, when you're using that funnel for the car or even for iced tea or something, it gets gunked up, and that's what experiences and things that we have do. So that purge opens up that funnel to make us be able to funnel more and give you what you need.
Which, is, I guess, one of the core bases of Reiki. It's about clearing out the blockage, the energy blockages. So that's actually what we're here to talk about is treating people with Reiki and how it's been adopted over the last 50, 60 years by some mainstream hospitals and even in modern medicine. So would you like to touch base on that?
Sure, absolutely. I find this is one of our best allies as Reiki teachers. Reiki is the only healing modality as of now that has had medical research dollars allocated to it. So it's just wonderful, and it's amazing that there are full research studies to figure this out. And with that, though, came a lot of use of Reikis in hospitals and it becoming part of a service. Just like massage therapy is offered, they have Reikis on staff.
Yes.
Dr. Oz, who everyone, knows most popular, he was one of the first heart surgeons to actually keep a Reiki as part of the surgical staff.
Yeah.
And they would come in and perform pre, during, and post Reiki, which is just amazing. And now there are so many nurses out there who are Reikis. There are a lot of doctors who are Reikis. And some of their accelerated healing time and things like that are they're so amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's when we talk about Dr. Oz, so many people nowadays will just drop Dr. Oz as seen on Dr. Oz to sell you their product. But that's a researchable fact.
Yes.
Dr. Oz is a big supporter in his own life of Reiki, and
His wife
I've
is a Reiki Master.
Yes, and I've seen that myself. A lot of nurses come through asking about Reiki and all because it's recognized in modern medicine as an actual practice. Not that any of the other energy modalities are not, but this is one that they've latched on and really seen its ability to help our bodies heal themselves. Which really brings me to the main thing of why I wanted to bring you here today and really talk about this. Being someone whose cancer affected my life with the loss of my mother early on, and so many people today. It's just cancer's so often. Every family is affected by it in some way or another. But particularly about the one statistic was people who receive Reiki during cancer treatments, chemotherapy, things like that, exhibit 80% less side effects, hair loss, sickness, nausea, than people who do not. And again, this is a medical study. This isn't done by the person down at our local spiritual store. This is the FDA and the medical institutes that do these studies, and it's pretty amazing. So tell us a little bit about what you're aware of in your experience with work with cancer patients.
I have worked with quite a few cancer patients, from going to the treatment with them to pre-treatment, during, working on the actual bag before they place it on the patient, and after. And I have seen firsthand the effect it has on the side effects, and it really is just amazing what it can do to help with the issues that they're going through, because it is a poison going into the system, and it's a necessary poison. It's
radioactive rat poison, basically.
Yeah,
I hope it kills the cancer before it kills you.
Yeah,
I can't believe this. We put a man on the moon in 1969, and we're still using a rat poison for cancer. Go figure.
But it does, and what's wonderful too is, of course you have us, independent Reikis where a patient will call and say, "Can you come with me?" And absolutely. But now we have, and I was just writing down a few. Cooper offers it in their oncology department. Kennedy offers it in their oncology department. We have University of Penn, Temple, Albert Einstein, all in Philadelphia.
All the big names, and we live in South Jersey area. Philadelphia is the hub of cutting edge medication, and all the big names use it.
Yeah.
As well as Cancer Centers of America.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's, which to me speaks volumes. I mean, that says it all right there. The fact that they're saying, okay, now we're going to keep them on staff. Even back to about 5 years ago, when I was working with my aunt through her treatment, they had somebody doing acupressure, but no Reikis or anything like that. And this was at a top hospital, and now that hospital has added Reikis to their oncology department. We're also seeing it in a lot of maternity wards too.
Yes.
And it's doing wonderful with calming the nerves. And that's another thing. The same thing it does for the oncology patients is it calms them, keeps them a little more peaceful, which is still going to help with side effects. You know, all of it's going to work together, because that's the battle of your life right there. So to have some extra strength build up when your system is being attacked is priceless.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and they're working a lot with mom and baby, and I mean, just some of the results are just, even the NICUs. There are some studies on the NICU babies that when they, you know, they have the people who go and hold them to give them love. When the Reikis go, their survival rate is dramatically increased.
I have, my throat, I'm sorry. I'm fighting off a little cold. I did not want to cancel this interview because everybody's very busy. I'm sipping my lemon and honey water here. Excuse me. My sister-in-law actually is a nurse in the new virtual open where he's a great big one in the NICU. And I was having that conversation one day, and in the short while she's been there, she said she hasn't seen it, but when she asked about it, they said that they absolutely cooperate with any family that wishes to have Reiki people specifically come in and work on the children. And there was a story she recounted where somebody came in and one of the other families asked what was going on. They immediately said, could you please work on, give our child some energy too? And before the day was out, they made their way through the NICU and treated about 4 or 5 kids because everyone was so amazed about what was happening. And, praise God, they all made a recovery. So,
it's very impressive.
Yes. And in general, I think the balancing of the energy allows your body to heal faster. I think that's one aspect of it. And there's aspects there that we'll never understand, and science will never be able to prove. And whether it's called faith healing, call it what you will, the energy that's out there, the energy that surrounds us all, that makes us breathe, it makes our heart pump without us trying, the light force that is just everywhere is amazing. It can't be limited, and we certainly, our human labels, which is a term I use an awful lot when I talk about religion and all. I speak of all the deity figures. They don't get tethered by the labels we put on them to separate ourselves from one group from another. And this is the same thing. It can come in many forms and many names, but that healing energy is similar. It's different ways it's applied. And with that in mind, I actually would like to touch base on you. Like, what are some of the other, so I've become a Reiki practitioner, and I'm going out, I'm trying to maybe help, maybe volunteer at these centers or whatever, and I just feel like I want something more. Where would we go from traditional Usui Reiki? What would be like a natural stepping stone beyond that?
I would say there is really your choice. What calls to
let me rephrase that. It will definitely vary based on individual what you resonate with.
Yeah, but there are
let's say for you, for instance, what other modalities do you practice?
For me, I went into IET, Integrated Energy Therapy, which is, there's a baseline there where you could see, and I know, Dan, you've done, so you could see a resemblance. So it's almost a little bit of a natural progression over. But it's working more with the angels, and it's a little bit of a higher frequency. I always say Reiki's like a bass guitar, IET's like an electric guitar. And then I did go into a lot of, things. I started working with oils. You see it very common with Reiki's where we either add oils or crystals, and it's kind of like, apples and oranges. They're both wonderful. It's what resonates with you that becomes tangible for you to use. Also into Karuna Reiki, which is a different form of Reiki, and it's once you've been a master for quite a while, then you can go into Karuna, and it's a little bit different of a concept. But I always come home. I have to say, I always run right back to Reiki, and it's always my home. My son is a Reiki 1. He is 10 now. When he was 5 years old, he became a Reiki 1.
Right.
And he is also the one who kind of brought me to all this also.
Right.
So I think I'm kind
It's
of his,
appropriate.
Yeah, I think I'm really just here for his passageway, for what his life's plan is.
Yeah.
So.
Now, as you've gone through these different modalities, and I know, like, we start getting into Corona, it's more about, like you were saying, a higher frequency. It's more of maybe a more powerful frequency. With those lifts, have they affected you in any way? As far as we spoke about Reiki, sometimes the attunements can help us lower our resistance to the natural abilities we already possess. Have you found in your journey, like, the higher the modality that you've gone to, the more wide open you've become?
I'd have to say no. I think my biggest transition was to Master. Master of Usui Reiki, because that's when I think I knew things were there. You know, we all say gut feelings, things like
Right.
that. I knew they were there. All the women in my family have it. Good, bad, or indifferent. And, and I knew they were there, but that was when I really had to learn how to manage the noise. But after that, I became very comfortable in my skin. So as the different frequencies changed,
Right.
it just was all part of me. And you know, so I can't say I saw any jumps in them.
Right.
It was just all me.
Right,
know?
and again, that's all personal journey. It will vary.
Absolutely.
But the night you recognize it was there, and the key is you accept it. You grew comfortable in
Yes.
your own skin, and
Yes.
with that, it just happens.
That's right.
So we'll touch base. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here, but so we get back, and I become a Reiki 1. Where else in my life can I use Reiki, sure, other than healing?
Everywhere.
Well,
It's
give
the
us some
easiest
examples.
question.
Give us some examples. I'm home on a Sunday, and I'm cleaning up the house, and I'm trying to create a sacred space, like my little den of Zen here. How can I use Reiki to assist me in that?
Raking the home is wonderful. A lot of us were brought up with blessing the home. And it's just another version of that. You know, doing Reiki to a space is very helpful. If you have something stressful coming up, once you've become a Reiki 2, you can send Reiki to that event and time to help keep you calm. If you deal with regular medical issues, Reiki yourself regularly. Your children, your plants, your pets, your food, your car, your home. You pick a spot, you can use Reiki. That's what's so wonderful, is it's so user-friendly. Anyone can do it. You do not need to feel anything or feel like you have any drawings. Anyone can do it. And that's I think that's why it's been so welcomed into the mainstream.
Yes. People have heard me talk a million times about using Reiki when I give my crystal workshops and things like that to cleanse and charge your crystals with Reiki. My pendulums that I carve, I was showing them before we started here. They get angelically cleansed, they get Christian blessed, and then they get Reiki charged. It's definitely just a great way to use energy and produce energy and really get it out there and utilize the gifts that the universe gives us every day. It's just becoming more and more active. So let's talk about your studio and the services you provide there.
Right. I own a salon in Wenonah, New Jersey, called Studio Shear Bliss, and it's SHEAR. We always get that confusion. And we offer, full stylist services, hair top to bottom. We also offer massage, Reiki, spa treatments such as body scrubs, things like that. And I also do my Reiki classes out of there also.
Yes. And if someone wanted to reach out to you for a Reiki session or to inquire about a Reiki class, what's the best way to reach you?
You can reach us either from our phone number, which is 856-292-3819, or the website, which is www.studioshearbliss.com.
All right. And all that information will be in the show notes, as well as links to all the relevant resources. So again, Heather, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I hope you found this enjoyable and not too much stress. And thank you all again for joining us. Now, the next interview we're doing, I'm not sure, depending on time frames, it's going to be, it could be either the Angel Communication that we missed out on before with Colleen St. Michael's. And I still have a couple other people trying to make their schedule work. Some more like what I call YouTube celebs, spiritual workers out there that we're trying to get some time frame set up. But in the next couple of weeks here, we should be moving through and getting these last few episodes wrapped up. And again, anybody has any input or anybody that they would like to ask about having an interview done with, or if you're out there and you perform light worker, energy worker, angel worker services, and you'd be interested in interviewing, you can reach out to me, obviously, at Daniel@AdvancedAngelCards.com, or on the Google Voice Angel Hotline, 747-444-1022. Thank you all again, and we'll see you next time.